But you're doing fantastic. All right, guys. Hey, it's Ted Bogert. We are back with the Ted Show. You know, this is truly one of my favorite times of the week because I get to spend time with the one and only Kendra Davies with Stellar Life Coaching.
Hello,
there she is.
hello.
She's a very important person because she's been on Forbes, and I don't even know what to do. She's got all of her Academy Awards behind her. She's amazing. We're going to talk today about bridging the gap between where you are and where you want to be. What a great topic. She's got great insights. She's heartfelt and compassionate. We love her to death. Welcome, Kendra Davies.
As always, it's
we were just trying to figure out. So when you guys make comments, I'm going to try to pay attention today and let Kendra know where they're at because we're live on 5 platforms right now.
What?
And you know what happens is it gets confusing where all the comments come from.
Yeah.
Plus I'm old. So anyway, enough about me. Before we take a deep dive, tell them a little bit about you, the one and only Kendra Davies.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kendra Davies, and I am a life coach and a positive psychology practitioner, and I own Stellar Life Coaching in Orlando, Florida. I support my spiel, if as it were, is that I help my clients identify, define, and cultivate their own happiness. And I do that using the transformative science of positive psychology. So I work with
so good. You've got it down.
I host retreats and workshops. I'm here.
And you were just in Forbes.
Yeah, since you're going to bring it up.
I'm going to bring it up. This is big stuff. This is a big deal.
It's so crazy. I was in Forbes. So if it's like instant credibility, I feel, right? So
it's just a nice added layer of validation in my opinion.
It's so rad. So okay, I'm an old lady, obviously.
You are not.
I got tweeted. Like somebody tweeted.
Oh, somebody
tweeted you. Tweeted me. I have a Twitter that I have never used, and somebody tweeted me, and then they retweeted my article, and I was like, "What do I do?"
Oh my God, I love
it. It's pretty amazing.
You know what's great about that, though, is that we're all progressing, right? So we celebrate these moments that come along like this, and you should celebrate. So kudos to you. Forbes is a big, big deal. All right. So we're going to take it. Why this topic? I always like to ask that question because you have ideas. You probably either addressed it recently in a workshop or with a client. You've got these thoughts and see what's going on in the world. Why this topic? Because it is so important.
So I chose bridging the gap between where you are and where you want to be because I feel like all personal development begins from that thought. Like I want to be there. Yeah, we see somebody else doing it. We are raised to believe it's what we should be doing. Whatever mental processes get us there, we ultimately look at the world and we say, I want that. That's what I'm working for. Yeah. And what I find is that by the time people get to someone like me or a therapist or a mentor or something like that, something is off.
Right.
They're moving, they're running, but they're not moving, right? And the gap widens the longer we stay in that position, and the longer our feet are moving and we're not, like our feet are going, but we're not actually moving, the wider that gap gets. And there's just a couple of things that I think are kind of universal questions that are helpful to ask. Like the ideas that I want to share are not like life-changing thoughts, but I think that they're valuable questions to ask yourself, whether you're coming out of college or you're thinking about transitioning your career or you're looking to level up. Whatever the space is between where you are and where you want to be, these are questions that I think are valuable.
Well, I think most people don't. First of all, most people actually don't even know how to identify where they are, let alone where they want to be. It is a
Mm-hmm.
very challenging thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people go, well, I'm here, but what does that even mean? And
Yeah.
then if I'm here and I'm stuck, how do I get to where I want to be? Which I'm
Yeah.
sure you're gonna enlighten us on this.
Well, I don't even think it's a matter of being able to pinpoint it. I don't even think that that's the most important piece, honestly, because it really think about when you were 25, Ted. 25-year-old Ted.
When the earth cooled, yes.
When 25-year-old Ted, did he want the exact same things that you want today?
No, not
No.
even close.
So it's like, this is a constantly fluid and ever-changing thing. And I think the first piece that I think is most important is to recognize that this is going to change. It's a matter of where you are. And I use that language, bridging the gap between where you are, like today, reality, right now. You're 15 pounds overweight. You don't know what your favorite color is. You don't know what you want to eat. You can't answer basic questions about yourself because you don't know who you are. Wherever you are, or maybe you're 20 years into your career and you want to up level. You are ready for the next step, but it's just that you don't know how to make the move. Wherever you are, yeah. How do we bridge the gap to where you want?
Well, I think I love that because I think there's a great scene in the movie. I can't believe I'm going to quote a movie, but here we go. Runaway Bride, where she's tasting eggs for the first time.
Uh-huh.
Because she's always been asked and she's always gone along with what everyone told her was her favorite egg.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that moment because I think I think a lot of us go through that. We've either been conditioned or told what we feel and where we're at and where we should be. And we've never taken a minute to step back and go, is this where I should be? Is this where I want to be? Is this what I like?
Yeah.
And so we don't even know how to answer the basic questions of what our favorite colors are or our favorite eggs or what job I want to eventually have or what my passion is. We're so conditioned not to answer those questions, to go along with the flow of what we're told in our parameters, that it's very hard to break free from it.
And that is actually my number one question to ask, which is, whose measuring stick are you using?
Yes.
Right? Because let's say from where you are to where you want to be, is where you want to be your goal, or was it prescribed to you? Did your parents, your spouse, your boss, your best friends, like who is the one dictating this? Is it yours? Is it arbitrary? Right? Like, is it actually connected to who you are and what you want? Or are we doing it because we should? Because humans historically really, really stick to what they should do, right?
Right.
Not really.
We don't pay attention to anything, honestly. I feel like most people I know are flying by the seat of their pants. And they don't know how to define anything, where they are, where they want to be, where they were. It's all a mystery. And so we keep going through the motions, I feel like, instead of really getting to the nitty gritty of defining those two things, bridging that gap. It is actually harder than we talk about. And I want to give people permission to say it's a difficult thing when you have been conditioned to only think a certain way, to question that way and figure out where it is that you want to be.
I have clients who have been within their own cultures conditioned to believe that they can be lawyers, accountants, and doctors. And that's it. Like, by the time they come to me, they're like whispering, I really love the piano.
Exactly.
Or like, I think I want to be a writer, but I can't do that. Why not? And they're culturally conditioned and they've lived their whole lives without ever questioning it. They went to college, they got master's degrees, they're doctors, they're PhD holders. They've pursued a career in a thing and they never stopped to ask, what do I want? Like, what do I actually want? And when I work with folks and we actually create this space to say, forget what you've been told, right? Like, pin it up on the board. We can come back to that anytime. Our misery is always waiting for us. You know what I mean? We can get that back anytime we want. So let's pin it up on the board. If it was impossible to fail and you could do anything you wanted to do, what is the first thing that comes up? First thing. And maybe it's something you think that is silly. Like, I want to play the piano more. Fucking gold. Let's go play.
Why not? I mean, this
Why
is the thing. Why wouldn't we? But what a great way to start that, because I think people haven't ever been asked either. They've either been afraid to talk about it, or if somebody asked, they didn't know the answer, and so they kind of withdrew. It is not, guys, we're not saying you have to know the answer right now, but what Kendra's saying is, think about the first thing that comes to mind, and then let's work our way through that. At least you're saying something out loud to the world, to the universe. This is what I love, or this is what I like, or this is what I want to do.
And here's the thing, for at least one of those clients, I think is a really good example. She still stayed a doctor. She didn't decide like, oh, well, I've never thought about what I want, so I'm going to burn it all down. She stayed a doctor. But what happened is that when she allowed herself to explore the piano, to take the lessons, to participate in like group events and like group jams, and like allowed herself to have that experience, what she found is that she stopped looking at her job to give her meaning and fulfillment. And she found meaning and fulfillment playing the piano, because that's what she loved to do. She didn't want to monetize it, right? She wasn't looking to make that her career. She said, I just want to have the freedom to do it because I love it, right? So now she has it structured as part of who she is and part of her daily life and how she interacts with the world. She kept her job. She didn't burn the PhD. She
didn't light it on fire.
She just said, I can also have this. And sometimes our brain, like, it's so powerful when we don't ask the question, is this mine or was this given to me? Was I told this is what women do? Was I told this is what men do? Was I told that this is what providers do? Men, especially here, who are conditioned that their value is what they produce and provide.
Yes.
I find that most men, when I say, well, what do you want to do? They're like, I don't understand the question. I'm doing it. I'm doing it because it's what I do. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're allowed to have want. What about desire, right? And it's almost like we have to open up the gates just to consider what could be possible.
Well, if you consider that, then it threatens everything you've built your life on, your relationships, your work thought process, your goals, your dreams. They have been built around something that you were probably conditioned to accept or told to do. And then when you ask that question, that's like watching the entire egg crumble.
Exactly.
And it's very scary for people. So we don't want you guys to think that we don't know it's scary. It can be very scary, but it can also be so empowering. To finally be able to answer a question and take a breath and realize I'm not doing anything I want to do.
So I have another example of something like, I had a client who she was a bit overweight, right? And she wanted to explore physical things. Part of the work that I do with people, if you come to me with weight, for instance, I never am like talking to you about your weight. I'm not asking you to count your calories. I don't start with food. I start with how do we learn to love ourselves, our bodies, and our lives, right? So her homework was to make a list of physical activities that she would be willing to do or try. She's like, I hate the gym. I hate the gym. Fine. Fuck the gym. What else? Give me something else. Don't tell me what you can't do or what you don't want to do. Tell me what you're willing to do.
That's right.
So she makes this list. And Ted Bogert, this woman wrote down the fucking trapeze.
No, she did. So she
wanted to do the trapeze, like when you go to the fair, the zoo, the fair, whatever that thing is where you fly on the bar. That's what she wanted to do.
God, no way. That's awesome.
She was like, I don't think I can do it. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. You got to go. Like, you got to go because I'm curious. I want to know. You got to go so you can come back.
I want to know too.
She loved it.
Did she?
She loved it and she could do it. She thought she couldn't. And like the world told her she shouldn't be able to because she was big or whatever. Like she had this idea. And when she finally had the balls to just go, not only could she do it, but she loved it. Loved it. It's just another example. And it applies to all of these parts of our lives. What kind of mom do you want to be? What kind of partner do you want to be? What kind of husband do you want to be? What kind of brother do you want to be? Like, you can ask yourself this question in each facet of your life. If it was impossible to fail and everything could go exactly as your heart desires, what would it be in each avenue? And what you're going to find is that you have these seemingly silly ideas, right? Oh, I think I would start CrossFit. You know, like I see those guys like pulling fucking cars with chains on their back, and I'm pumped. I don't know. I think it's crazy, but I want to try it. Dude, go try it. And do you know
Why wouldn't you try it?
But do you
I
know
love
what
it.
happens when you allow yourself to have these experiences? You then develop like a CrossFit family. Like if you ever talk to anybody who is in CrossFit, who loves CrossFit, they got a CrossFit family. These like trapeze artists, if you talk to people who do silks, they have like entire groups that commit themselves and their passion to these kinds of things. So you don't just go do a thing. You end up getting involved in belonging, community. You end up finding passion and connection, and then it generalizes out into the rest of your life. And then all these things that seem impossible between where you are and where you want to be, all of a sudden they get easy. They get easy.
I love that. I love the fact that we are trying to give them some sort of real tools so they recognize and also don't feel bad about where you're at. So where you're at, right? So identifying that, like Kendra said, is a big deal. Mm-hmm. Where you want to be, I want you to take, if you can, money out of the initial equation, because I think most men, I'll tell you, maybe women too, but men will equate where I want to be. Money is the first thing that comes up. And what a lot of people do is they equate their value and their self-worth with money. You mentioned it earlier. As a guy, that's what I think. I'm old school when it comes to it. I feel like I've graduated a little bit on the hierarchy, but I'm not there. Yeah. I assign a value to the fact that I'm providing for my family. That is something that got punched into my head early on, and that's how I look at things. It's not where you want to be necessarily has to do with your salary.
No. And I would even challenge you, if you're really going to do the exercise, tell me how you want to feel. Yeah. That's what I want to know. I want to feel more joy. I want to feel peace. Don't tell me you want less stress. Give me an alternative to the stress. I want peace, right? Yes. I want to be able to be present with my kids. I want to be able to shut my phone off and go on an actual vacation. That is what I want. I want to have more autonomy over my time. Tell me those things, because what happens if you tell me that you want to make $1 million? Yeah, cool. What are you willing to do to make $1 million?
100%.
Are you willing to sacrifice being present with your kids? Are you willing to sacrifice autonomy? Are you willing to work for somebody else? What are you willing to do? Like, that number is so arbitrary. It doesn't tell me shit about what you're actually trying to do and where you want to go. How do you?
They've been told. We have all been told that if you set something structured up like that, that is what you're trying to attain, Ted, young person. That's where you want to be, and that's not the case. I've never talked to anybody who, once we got down to the nitty-gritty, the amount of money that they earned was that important. It was what they perceived that would buy or bring them. It wasn't the money itself. They thought, if I have a bigger house, I'll be happier. If I don't stress about money at a restaurant, I'll be happier. If I could buy the car I want, to be happier. And so they assign all of these things to money, and they don't really take time to think about what really is motivating them.
Yeah. I would say that if you're listing out houses, cars, and money, then you're sticking on the surface. And listen, it doesn't mean that you won't get the cars, the house, and the money. You may, but it will never be enough. You will never feel fulfilled from those things, right? There will always be a lacking. There will always be a point where you reach a certain limit and it doesn't go any further.
Correct.
And like the research is really, really clear that more money doesn't actually bring us more happiness, and more belongings doesn't actually contribute to our well-being.
Right.
It is those experiences. It is the fact that I love, like, listen, I am super money motivated. Like, I love the act of making money. Does that make sense? Like,
yes,
when I make money, I'm like, look what I just did.
I get
Right?
it.
So I'm money motivated, but I also am not willing to make money without being authentic, without being connected to myself, without doing the things that really bring me joy. I'm not willing to work with clients that I don't connect with, that I can't feel with. Yeah, it makes me a better coach when I do have those things. And I did not work this hard to hate my job. Like, no, if I built it, then why would I want to hate it? So I don't do that. So when I do make the money, I feel the satisfaction of like, yes, yes. I built something. I built something real that brings value, and people see the value in the things that I bring. That is deeply fulfilling. So you can still be money motivated, but you can also tie that to purpose and meaning and something valuable, like autonomy, family, connection, belonging. Make more connections than just that superficial, or not superficial, but surface level.
It's some of the stuff that we think is surface, because again, we're trained, I feel like, or conditioned to not really express our true feelings. Don't reveal too much. Keep it close to the chest, breast. I mean, it's very difficult, I know, for human beings in general to kind of break out of the parameters that we feel like we have been constrained by for so long.
Yeah. Well, my last suggestion is to swap out judgment for celebration. And the reason
I love that. Give us an example. That's awesome.
Like, I often hear people say things like, yeah, I know my goal was to, I don't know, let's say meditate for 15 minutes twice a week. Yeah. But I only meditated for 5 minutes twice a week. So they end up judging themselves rather than celebrating the fact that they actually did do it. So they went from not meditating to meditating twice for 5 minutes, but the homework was to meditate for 15 minutes, right? So instead of celebrating the fact that there was any movement, we're judging the fact that the movement didn't look like the way we thought it should. And so I do should, because I don't want you to should all over yourself. Like, give it up. What did you do? And how can we celebrate that? Because the celebration is what makes it all worthwhile, right? So I think swap out the judgment for celebration. Celebrate.
I'll have to remember that. That's such an important thing, because I think we beat ourselves up. Mm-hmm. We're again conditioned to do that. It is what it is, and we all suffer through it. I think we've all beat ourselves up over a goal we didn't make, a relationship that didn't work, a friendship that didn't work, money we didn't make. We go through this stuff, and so we kill ourselves. I call it the opus deiing of ourselves. You got the thing on the back. We're just torture ourselves instead of celebrating at least those moments. I don't care how small it is. How small is the step? It doesn't matter. It's still a step.
It is. And I will tell you, if you really pay attention to this judgment piece, because it's big, the shoulding on yourself, it is big and it is deep. And
I can't tell you how much I love that, by the way.
And what you're going to find is that you should on a lot of other people too. And you're going to find that when you're shoulding on other people, you feel disconnected, you feel isolated, you feel incomplete, you feel unfulfilled. And that is because you're shoulding on yourself. And when we swap it out, when we swap out that judgment for celebration, we're going to look at people and say, man, I know you had a goal and I know you were just shy of it and that sucks, but I'm really proud of you for doing what you did do. I'm impressed with that. I don't think I could do that, right? Like, I can actually honor that about you because I can honor it in myself.
Love it. All right. So how do people reach you? What's the best way to find Kendra Davies? she's a life coach. She's a stellar life coach, actually.
Oh,
And so you want to reach out to her. I know people ask me all the time, who would you recommend? And I always recommend the one and only Kendra Davies. So how can they find you?
sure. So you can find me at stellarlifecoaching.com. The phone number is on the website. You can text that number. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, all of the things, Instagram at Stellar Coach. You can email me from the website. My prices and services are there. We are hosting a retreat. The retreat is called the PhoenixRetreat.com. You can go there. We're going to Bali in August. So we only have 7 seats available now, which is a big deal.
Amazing.
And a bucket list destination. So Bali is open. We are good to go.
I love it.
Come.
All right. You're amazing. Thank you for all you share. It's so
Of course.
important.
I can't
Kendra
believe
Davies.
it goes so fast.
It goes so fast. I know, because you know what? We have a lot to talk about. You have a lot of wisdom to impart on people. So we're very thankful for you. Kendra Davies, stellarlifecoaching.com. We'll be back next week, same time, same bat channel. You're not old. Nobody's old enough to know that. Appreciate you. Love you to pieces. Reach out to the one and only